Good morning, my name is Matthew Stones from Axel Technologies, and today I'm making a short video to introduce the Model 80 Axel Thin Client Terminal. So in the box you get a CD-ROM containing remote management software and a quick installation guide, VESA mounting bracket, the terminal itself, power cable, a short video cable and some VESA screws and a power supply. The installation is easy enough with the VESA supplied bracket attached to the back of the monitor with the screws supplied. The terminal then fits on there. The short video cable links between the monitor and the terminal, and the power lead goes between the terminal and power. Here's the terminal connected up. I'm using a wireless keyboard and mouse, but it does of course support a standard wired keyboard and mouse. So we're ready to go. Before we boot up, I'll just quickly show what's inside the box. So here we have it. It's one circuit board. There are no banks of memory chips or large heat sinks, and the reason for that is that there's a lot less hardware in an Axel terminal than in a comparable Linux or Windows based terminal. And because we don't have to host an operating system, we can deliver more performance with less hardware. And having fewer components and less hardware has other benefits in terms of power consumption, 5 watts, and we can also provide a longer warranty. We can provide a 5-year warranty. When the terminal's first turned on, it will enter a quick setup wizard to very quickly get you established with one session. I will set up one session to connect to a Windows 2008 server, and a second session to connect to a Windows 2012 server. Okay, I'll zoom in so you can see the menus. So the first option is to select the keyboard type using either spacebar or the mouse. You list the options and I would choose English. The terminal's name is by default Axel followed by the MAC address, but you can overwrite that to something of your choosing. The next option, remote control allowed, is to enable or not the embedded VNC server to provide remote access from a PC. The resolution, by default we interrogate the monitor and use the preferred resolution of the monitor, but you can hit the spacebar and hardwire the terminal to use a specific resolution up to 1920 by 1200. And you can also choose the color depth. By default we use 16-bit, but that can be knocked up to 24 or 32. Here you can either enable DHCP or enter a static IP address. I will leave DHCP enabled. Here we choose the connection type. For this particular video I'm connecting to a terminal server. The options are Citrix, and there are various ways how we can connect to Citrix, which are covered in a separate video. There's also VMware View, VDI, VNC server, which is normally used to connect to a Linux graphical environment, and various legacy text emulations. So I will be choosing terminal services, and then there are 3 further options. One is to connect to a Microsoft remote app environment. One is a direct access, which we'll choose here, where we open up a simple RDP connection to a terminal server, and the third option is gateway access, which would normally be used to connect to a terminal server over the internet. I will choose direct access here. Here we enter the server name, which can be a DNS name, or if you enter an IP address, then we use the IP address and just use the server name for reference. We have no printers connected at the moment and no USB drives. A quick resume of what we've chosen, and I'll authenticate that. I'll now let the terminal reboot in real time so you can get an idea of the speed to boot. And now we're connected. I'll now configure the terminal to connect to a second session, which will be to a Windows 2012 server. I apologise for the background noise. That is the Windows 2012 server, so I can't do much about that. So we have our first session configured to connect to the Windows 2008 server, and I just log in. So that's fully up and working. To configure a second session, we enter Setup, Control, Alt, Escape, and simply enter Sessions. Session 1 is our current Windows 2008 session. If I pick Session 2, the first unused session, press Return. Session 2 could be any type of connection. It could be connecting to a Citrix or an AS400, but in this case it's connecting to a 2012 server using TSC RDS. And I can now enter the IP address or DNS name of the server. Save that, quit and exit. And now we have two icons on our desktop. And the second one, if I click on, I get the authentication box for Windows 2012. Now the front end is somewhat different because we have to do an NTLM negotiation before we connect to Windows 2012. But we can now log into 2012 with its charm boxes, which I'm sure we'll soon get used to. And we can now hotkey back to our 2008 environment. And using Alt F1 and Alt F2 we can hotkey between the two environments. You can also use the mouse to hotkey between the two environments. If you pull the mouse to the bottom of the screen, an Axel status line pops up, and then you can click on Session 1 or Session 2. The Axel status line can be enabled to be permanently there. At the moment it's designed to be auto hidden, so you pull the cursor down to the bottom and it pops up after a couple of seconds, so it doesn't interfere with the Microsoft status bar. Go back to the Windows 2008 environment, it doesn't now interfere with what's going on here. So I hope you found that interesting and informative. If you have any questions about Axel technologies, or if we can offer an evaluation device, please get in touch with us via our website, which is www.axel.com. Thank you very much, and bye for now.